Hey guys, Dr. Mike Israetel here for Renaissance Periodization and Juggernaut Training Systems to address a third myth that we've been finding to be very common, expressed in sport training circles, bodybuilding circles, and otherwise in fitness. Today's myth of keto diets for athletes. Keto diets, otherwise known as ketogenic diets, are essentially low-carb diets because the only way to really get into ketosis is to drop your daily carbohydrate intake to very small, very low, abysmal levels. So you have these low-carb intakes, and there are supposedly some benefits. Let's find out if that really pans out. Point number one, we'll just cut straight to the chase. There is no magic advantage of keto. Yes, it's a fun word to say, ketogenic, it sounds really sciencey. Unfortunately, ketosis doesn't confer any sort of magical advantages. It has no discernible effects that are different than calorie-equated diets, for example, where the training is equated on fat burning even, which is usually its most prized possession, and lately people have been saying that it's better for neural function. That second point I can refute is entirely false. The brain prefers glucose almost exclusively. It's sort of the caviar of brain fuel, so that's definitely false, and even on their huge sort of tip of the spear where they're supposed to really help with fat burning, keto diets don't really help much more with fat burning than any other kind of diets. So now that we can throw that away, we got to get to point two, which is the fact that glycogen, which is an internally stored carbohydrate, can only be maxed out or even be remotely high in folks that eat plenty of carbohydrates. Glycogen, intramuscular carb stores, are the single nutritive, most determinative performance effector as a fuel. If you're running low on glycogen, on muscle glycogen, your performance is going to be incredibly, incredibly degraded to the point that it is one of the golden marks of a scientific study of how do we demonstrate that your fatigue is really pronounced and is physiological is we measure your muscle glycogen. As soon as muscle glycogen starts to fall, we can almost guarantee fatigue is going to be incredibly high, performance is going to be incredibly low. So if you choose to go the keto route and you do a low-carb diet as an athlete, you are setting yourself up for an almost guaranteed drop in performance. Number three, not only do carbohydrates and glycogen have an incredible effect on performance, enough carbohydrates to recover from training have a super, super high effect on recovery. Recovery, so you can come back and train hard, not just today, not just tomorrow, but for weeks and months of productive training on end, is incredibly important to the training process. Carbohydrates are second only in recovery power to calories as far as the diet is concerned. So if you're eating a lot of calories, you're well on your way to recovery. After that, you've got to get carbs. Even protein doesn't have the same effect on recovery as carbohydrates. So if you plan on doing a keto low-carb diet and you're going to be trying to recover, good luck, because it's probably not going to happen nearly as much as you would have been able to had you kept your carbs in. Point number four, if you want the edge in almost any kind of sport performance, and I can think of like maybe one or two sports, all of sports on top of my head, where a moderate to high carbohydrate diet wouldn't be a good effector of performance. If you want the edge in almost any kind of sport, you're going to consume adequate carbohydrate in your diet. Last point, in the most meat and potatoes way I can sum this up, ketogenic diets are not sport diets. If you want to be an athlete, if you want to be a high-level performer, you're going to integrate a high level to a moderate level of carbohydrate based on how much you're training into your diet. If you're going to excise that nutrient entirely and say you want to go the keto route, that's fine and good for lifestyle. It may be okay, it may be sustainable for you. If you don't have to eat a lot of carbs, maybe you don't crave carbs, that's okay. But for athletic purposes and for high levels of performance, carbs are indispensable. Keto is not the way to go. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys next time.